For those who are not familiar with Human Rights Day, it commemorates the anniversary of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. This year's global theme is Human Rights as Everyday Essentials, which is a perfect way to start with introducing Hedayat Osyan. Hedayat is the founder of Community Construction, a social enterprise that provides training, employment, and career pathways into Australia's construction industry for people from refugee backgrounds. Hedayat arrived in Australia in 2010. He's completed degrees in politics and international relations and arts and design at the University of Canberra, and he established Community Construction in 2017. Hedayat's leadership and impact have been recognised nationally and internationally, including receiving the 2024 Les Murray Award for Refugee Recognition. Hedayat, it's lovely to be in the Zoom room with you today. We'd love to learn a bit more about your experiences in the construction industry and your journey of starting your own social enterprise. Why does human rights in business matter, and what does it look like on the ground as an everyday essential?
Well, I believe human rights matter in business because they protect people, promote fairness, and ensure responsible conduct. But in social enterprise, they matter even more because respecting human rights is central to our mission. If a social enterprise prioritizes people and planet over profit, then respecting human rights must sit at the core of how we operate. In social enterprise, we are protecting the rights of workers. Social enterprise ensure that every person involved in the business is treated with respect and dignity. This includes fair wage and safe working conditions, non-discrimination in hiring, training, and promotion, supporting vulnerable communities such as refugees, women, and people with disability, providing job security and professional growth, and also creating inclusive employment pathway. Social enterprise often hire people with systematic barrier in the labor market, including refugees, migrant, First National people, women, young people, and other marginalized communities. By doing this, they break the cycle of exclusion created by racism and bias, providing meaningful jobs to individuals who have been overlooked or discriminated against. Let me share why I started my social enterprise and how I started. When I finished my university, my honours degree in 2016 in Canberra, I moved to Sydney during Christmas break, and I was working in construction site. It was a very hot summer day like today. I was working in a big construction site in Sydney City. There was a lot of refugee like myself who was working on that site. There was one guy, he was a forklift driver, and he was making a lot of trouble for people who don't speak English or who don't defend themselves. He often work on the fresh tile, which some refugee, they work for the long day. And then by the end of the day, this guy came and worked, and the people who are refugee, they couldn't defend themselves. And it was a lunchtime, a very hot day. This guy came to the lunchroom and he was start to making some fun of people who don't speak English. And then I stand up and I said, this is not right. I'm not going to let you to do this. And then after that guys left, everyone in the room from refugee background, they said, you're lucky, you speak English, you have built a network, and why you're working in this tough environment. We have been working in this environment for a long time. Sometimes we have been ripped off, sometimes we have been exploited. Like we work for a company for 1 month, and after the end of the month, the employer say, we are not going to pay you. And we have no idea how to navigate the system, how to ask for our rights. And also they are scared of the authority. They don't want to go to the court or maybe the fair trading. They never heard of this. So, and I said, this is not right and we have to do something. And they asked me, you're one of us. You came in Australia by boat and like us. So can you provide a safe space for us? We really want to work. We want to contribute. We want to support our family. We don't want to be on Centrelink. So is there any way you can provide a safe space for us so we can work? And I did some research and I found that construction is the huge industry in Australia. It's booming. At the same time, there's a loss of labor shortage. Even now, there's around 95,000 labor shortage in the construction industry. And then I thought this is a perfect area, so I can set up a company to train this untapped resource to fill this gap. So I started my social enterprise community construction in 2017. In the last 9 years, we employed over 100 people who have been exploited. Some of them, they have been mistreated in the workforce. Now, most of these 100 people, they're working full-time in construction industry. Around 80% of them, they bought their own houses in Sydney. 7 of them, they set up their own company. And also my business has been invited at the international event like the Global Refugee Forum in Geneva 2 years ago to showcase my business as a good practice. So I believe like every individual can make a contribution if you give them equal opportunity and treat them with respect and dignity. Thank you, and back to you, Sherryl.
Thank you so much, Hedayat, for sharing your personal and professional experiences with us, or a tiny glimpse of what you've experienced. It's mind blowing, and not in a good way, to know that in 2025 such harmful exploitation, abuse continues to happen in Australian workplaces across many industries, not only construction. At the same time, it's equally mind blowing in a good way to hear how you've created a different way of doing and being, not only for yourself, but for so many other refugee entrants and their families. Really looking forward to delving deeper into this in the panel discussion. Thank you. Yeah, we have 3 questions that came through to us from social enterprises in conversations leading up to this webinar. So the first one is acknowledging that social enterprises already struggle to do a lot with limited funds. So the question that comes up a lot is, does it cost a packet in time and money to make human rights part of business practice? Hedayat, I wonder, what are your thoughts on this?
Sure. Thank you for the question. My answer is no. It doesn't have to cost them a packet. With proportional expectation and right support, social enterprise can strengthen their human rights practice without taking any resource away from their core mission. What is important is proportionally, a small social enterprise shouldn't be held to the same process expectation as a large corporation. With particular template and sector support and scalable guidelines, this does not to drain any resource. Respecting human rights does not have to cost any money for social enterprise. In fact, for most social enterprises, it built on practice they already do. For example, for our social enterprise, we treat workers fairly, providing safe environment for them. We are very transparent, avoiding exploitation. It doesn't cost anything for us. So I'm running this social enterprise in the last 9 years. We employed 115 people. We haven't received a single dollar from government. We are a very self-funded organization. We contract the project. We provide a very safe space for refugees to flourish. At the same time, we transform their life, and also we make profit. So I believe if we give them the right support, if there's a right structure in the environment, there's no cost involved. Yeah, thank you.
Thanks, Hedayat. Another question that comes up quite often, and we hear it quite regularly, and it's this: my social enterprise or my business, we have a diversity and inclusion policy, we have a diversity and inclusion strategy. Isn't that enough?
I have been speaking at different events, and then there's a lot of construction company, big company, and they come and ask me, we have a diversity and inclusion policy, so it's great to hear about your study, so we want to work with you as a partner. But when we start our chat I send some of my document, and they expect a lot from us. As a social enterprise, as a very small company, they expect us to have all the document properly documented and have all the paperwork maybe very professional. And that's not working because social enterprise, as you know, it's a very small and with very limited resource. So we have to get some outsourced professional to provide those documents. So that's why after a while when we chat, and then they just silence us. But as a social enterprise, our impact is stretched far beyond our staff. We work with lots of vulnerable community, supplier, contractor, participant, and sometimes people in really complex situation. For example, sometime I book one of my project, and then two of my employees, they don't come up on the work site, and I have to reach out to them and say what's going on. And some of them, they have a lot of complex issue, like very traumatized, and sometimes they have a lot of family issue. So I have to work with them and make sure that it's okay. So we have a lot of flexibility, trying to work with that community to make sure that we provide enough support for them to at least, and the next day they can come back to the work. And I think that's very important, that we should make sure that is our program is safe, and are we unintentionally excluding or harming someone, or are people in our supply chain treated fairly? It's important. Thank you.